Hi, welcome. This is Rod Bryant. Welcome to a NETIV podcast. Now, normally you remember I do a weekly podcast with Moshe Avrams on Hebrew, and it's a lot of fun. So today I thought I'd bring a very dear friend and what I call mentor into
Oh,
the interview, and it's Elisheva. She's also known as Betty or Miss Betty in our community, Elisheva Givin. And Elisheva is such a beautiful, unique soul, and she's written a book. And I'm just going to say right up front, I've been looking forward to this book. Well, they can see it this way. It's called Hidden Sparks Beneath the Surface, and we'll tell you about this book later on, but it's fantastic. You got to hear it. But before we start, I just want to say that Betty, your beloved husband just died just a
yeah.
short time
You,
ago,
yeah, it's been 18 months ago,
right?
actually.
Which it
Yeah.
doesn't seem that much, I'm sure.
Mm. Um, well, he did, and I wanted to read the dedication that I wrote to him
Yeah, would
in
you do that?
the beginning of the book, and it just says, "To my beloved husband and soulmate, Roger Lee William Given, of blessed memory, without whose encouragement this endeavor would not have been possible. He was born on October 4th, 1942, and he died on September 18th, 2022. And 18, as you know, in Hebrew is Kai, which means life. And for me, that was very significant.
Right.
And I wrote the preface to my book exactly 1 year after he died on that anniversary.
Yeah.
And hopefully, it will bring life and joy and blessing to everyone who reads
Oh, I have no doubt that it's going to do
it.
that. So I have no doubt. Look, let's tell a little backstory real quick. So I just want to
Okay.
introduce people to who you are. Uh, like I said, we've known each other for quite some time. You were a part of our community in Humble, Texas, and we had a great mixture of very interesting people, from Orthodox Jewish people to non-Orthodox Jewish people to B'nai Noach, to righteous people of the nations that want to study Torah. And we have had great teachers, great rabbis, but early in our
Mhm.
journey, and I like the fact it's your inspirational journey through through the biblical festivals.
Yes.
You do such a good job, and it's interesting because you first came in the community, you were like the little Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder that would say, "Hey, don't forget, it's low bag armor, Omar. You know, it's this, it's that, it's the other," and you'd be reminding me of it. And you started a Rosh Kodesh deal for the
Yes, I did.
ladies.
Hmm.
Explain a little bit of that because that was so unique.
Well, actually, if you remember going back a little bit before I did the Rosh Kodesh, you had asked me to teach on prayer
Right.
as presented in the Siddur, and I did that to the ladies, and we met probably a year, I guess, and then Cherry came up to me and said, "You know, Betty, we should do Rosh Kodesh." And I said, "Yeah, that's a great idea. So who's going to do it?" Well, guess what? It landed on me. And so I mean, I knew Rosh Kodesh. I knew it's the beginning of the month. It means the head of the month. Um, but I hadn't really studied the ins and outs of what each month has to teach us. And so I began doing that, and I did it probably for 4 years.
Hmm.
We met on Rosh Kodesh, and we lit candles. We said blessings. We talked about the month and what it means in the Hebrew calendar, and how we, as women, can incorporate the meanings of Rosh Kodesh into our lives. Each month has its special connections because each one is the Hebrew calendar is cyclical, and each month relates to the other like a beautiful string of pearls. And if you take one month away, it's like you take a pearl out of the string and the whole string collapses. So they're all integral to each other. And I just believe that that Hashem gave us this divine timeline so
Mm-hmm.
that we could incorporate these things into our lives and
Yeah,
connect to
yeah,
Him.
I like what you were intimating, that it's like our life sort of flows on that sort of
Yes,
cyclical timeline, and we'll find ourselves in our own personal journey uh, being built by these different months, by what they mean, what it requires us of us to meditate on and to think about. And so this was the beginning of your writing, uh,
yes.
your writing on this topic and many other topics. And I remember asking you if you wouldn't mind writing for actually, I think, did I mention about writing the book or just writing for the website
No,
first?
you wanted me to write for the website, and I
Right.
was very reticent because I thought, I can talk kind of, but I'm not a writer. I just don't know that I can do that. You kept saying, yes, you can.
Oh,
Yes, you can,
yes.
Betty. So I did.
Right.
And I was inspired. Every time I wrote, I would read what I wrote to Roger, and he was the one who first said it. Betty, you need to put this down in a book.
I
You
thought
need
it
to
was a brilliant
share
idea when I heard you were going to do
it.
that. It was really good.
It took a while, as you know. Um, I mean, I taught it for 3, 4 years, and then we moved, and I had to leave the community. And anyway, a year after, I guess 6 months after he passed away, I actually started writing the book. So I
Yes.
decided, okay, half a year's gone by. I need to start this. And I did.
You know, one of the most valuable lessons that we all learn in this world of Torah and Judaism is, if you really want to learn something, you have to teach it. You have to learn it yourself and teach it. And over the years, I've done a lot of classes and taught a lot of classes, not because
Mhm.
I thought I knew something, but I knew I didn't know something and needed to study it. And then in studying it and presenting it, I began to learn it and develop it. And it's an important thing. You know, we want to encourage people that'll take time to buy the book and read it, which we hope they do. Hope you can order it
Mhm.
right now on Amazon. As a matter of fact, it's very easy to find. Hidden Sparks Beneath the Surface. I'll show a proper graphic of it in a minute. I've
Mhm.
got my face blurred. So anyway, go to Amazon. You'll be able to find it real easy. But
It is. It's on paper. It's paperback and Kindle for
right.
those who choose to read it a digital.
I was hoping to hear your sweet voice so I could listen to it on audiobook, but no,
Uh,
you didn't do that yet.
I haven't done that yet. It may be in the works. I'm just not sure.
Well, I know, but this is what I have to say, that you inspire me. Okay.
Oh,
Elisheva, you inspire me. And why you inspire me is the fact that look, like everyone else, you've had your tough times. Okay. You've went through your journey, went from one part of the country to the other, from one situation to another, of good times, bad times, all of them up and down. And you come to the sort of the slowed down, retired part of life, and you and
mm,
your husband are together. Your poor husband had multiple health defects or
for
health
many
problems for
years.
years,
Mhm.
and you would be exhausted, and you would come into the classes, but yet left there giving inspiration to other people. And that means you're a very special soul. And
Oh,
one of the things that I would like to do is, let's talk about what motivated you to approach this from the angle that you've approached this. Like when you began to study it,
mhm.
what was sparking up in you when you started to write each one of these monthly ideas or these ideas? What was it that was nailing you in this direction?
Okay, I can tell you exactly what it was, but right before that, I want to tell you that I was born asking questions. And I wrote that in the preface to my book. You probably wrote it, read it.
I'm sure your mother and father really liked that when you were about
Oh,
6.
they did. And my grandfather used to say, tongue in cheek, that little Betty Kay, she can ask questions that even God can't answer. Well, of course, that's not true. But I did. I always had questions. And my questions were what really led me when I started rereading the Bible,
Mhm.
beginning with Genesis. And I got to Genesis 1:14, where Hashem, this was in the creation story, where he says that he made two great lights, the sun and the moon, and they were for uh, days and seasons and months and years. Well, most people think of seasons. Okay, that's winter, spring, summer, and fall.
Right, right. That's a natural
Well,
sequence.
and that's what I thought. Well, then I learned a little Hebrew, and I found out, a season that has a Hebrew word that's called moedim. That is an appointment. So, what are these appointments all about? So that's what began my my journey really into the learning about the moedim and the times and seasons
Right.
of the year. So that's really what began it. And then he also says, for signs and seasons. So what's a sign? Well, Hebrew is ot, in English actually. So what's the sign all about? Well, we know the first sign he created. Of course, it was the moon.
Right.
Um, and when the moon comes into the nighttime sky each month, it ushers in the beginning of the new month. But you
Right.
can't see it; it's hidden. But the whole moon is there. And then, wow, you look outside and you see this tiny little sliver, and you think, oh my goodness, what does that hold for me?
Right.
And each new moon holds something very special. And so I wanted to find out what each new moon would signify as I went through that month. And
What
that's
an education.
sparked it.
Yes.
It's
No,
like
what
an
an
aha
education.
moment, aha
Right.
moment when you read something.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask you maybe to reach in and think of one of those aha moments maybe you came across. It doesn't matter which one, but you know, I'm sorry, I've got a little cough this morning.
No, go
Uh,
ahead.
as you begin to write these things, one of the things I found is this wasn't just some um, honorary moment to say that we recognize there's a new month.
No.
That's, everyone does that, but there is the essence of Hashem that is found within these modim. If you could take a moment and explain what that means when we say that God has given these special events, but he reveals himself in the events, correct?
Absolutely, he does. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like the new moon, it is hidden
Hmm.
and we have to look for him. But it says in Jeremiah that if you search for me with all your heart, then you will find me. And
Right.
so it's like he's playing hide and seek. Like, come on, y'all, come look
Right.
for me. I'm over here. And
Right.
so you have to put some chutzpah in it.
Right.
Yes, uh, to look and to find him in each month.
Yeah, one of the things that we learned that's a beautiful thing about our relationship with the Almighty is he rewards measure for measure. And the effort that we put in to discover and to try to find what you are looking for, what essence you're trying to bring out about the knowledge of God, he absolutely will reveal himself. And that's the most amazing thing. That's been my life journey. And we both have come, what I would consider, I came from a pretty low place.
Okay,
When I say low place, I don't mean like in the ghetto kind of gutter
I
thing, but
know.
I was in the low place spiritually. Like I was at a place to where I was so encapsulated in what is called by our our sages a klipot, a case.
Hmm.
And inside of me was a wonderful tasting fruit, but it was just a
Just
little
beyond, right?
just beyond, right? And over time, it's grown. Do you have an example of one of these aha moments that you'd like to share?
Well, yes. Well, I have several, but the first is coming up really soon, and that is in the month of Aviv or Nisan. Where Hashem tells Moshe in Exodus, I believe it's 35, that this will be the beginning of the months for you. And I'm thinking, okay, why? Well, because Moshe, through the grace of Hashem, led the people out of their bondage, out of
Mhm.
Mizraim. Well, if you know Hebrew, and if you don't, it's okay. I think I can explain it without it. But it is the word is with a double mem,
Mhm.
and a mem is a closed, pretty much closed letter. It's open a little tiny
Right.
bit in the beginning, but it's closed in the end. So once you get in, you are trapped. You're there and you are in bondage.
Mm.
And only Hashem can break you out. Now, so the children of Israel were trapped in Mizraim. They were slaves and they had no way out. But Hashem led them out. He showed them the way out through his prophet. And I think we each have our own Mitzrayim, our
Oh,
own
yes.
bondages in our
Yes.
own hearts and in our
Yeah.
own soul. You know what yours are. I know what mine are. I'm still learning things that
Mhm.
are trapping me and keeping me from discovering, really discovering Hashem and His glory and all that
Right.
He has for me. So I think I read something years ago that said at every step, life, at every turn, excuse me, life links us to the Creator. And I think we just need to keep our eyes open.
Right.
This is expressed very well um, in many places through the Torah, but in one place it is in Job 9:11, and
Mhm.
this passage almost makes me cry every time I read it because it says, "Behold, he passes by, and I see him not. He moves on, but I do not perceive him. Perceive him." How much do we miss when we have our eyes closed? When we think, "Oh, we're fine. We don't have any bondage. We don't have any Mitzrayim. I'm just fine the way I am." You
Right.
know. But then there's a poet, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and she says, every bush is crammed with heaven, and earth's crammed with heaven, every bush afire with God, but only he who sees takes off his shoes, the rest sit round and pluck blackberries.
Mm.
So we need to keep our eyes open,
Right.
or we won't even know that we're in bondage.
Absolutely.
We'll be
Absolutely.
like passerbys on a train or a bus, and yeah, we're looking out the window, but our eyes are glazed. Everything just kind of goes on.
I was listening to a leading behavioral psychologist says that the vast majority of people in society are in what they call zombie mode or robot mode.
Yes,
Like we're talking about at a high 90% of people just are reacting, getting dressed for work, drinking their coffee. They're not even really thinking about what they're doing. And
hmm,
now, mind you, I get it when you're young. We've both been there working two jobs and trying to take care of a family and all
right.
that stuff. But the advantage of getting older for me has been I now have more time for pausing and looking. I like the idea of when you look around and Hashem doesn't seem to be anywhere, start looking in the cracks. Start looking just
Absolutely.
in the little crevices and look for God. I'm telling you, uh, it's hard to explain this, but I would think that most people watching this that would even be interested in the content on the TIV would understand that, man, when you do seek Hashem and you look for him in these small places, he's going to be found. And this is what's remarkable. It doesn't mean that you go around with your head in the clouds.
No,
You're not, super spiritual. I don't even know what that means, but you understand what I mean. It means
I
that
do.
you are
Mhm.
conscious and cognitive, that you are a divine creation. And you being aware of that causes you to begin to ask, why am I here? What am I doing this for? And this book is really part of revealing those things to us, isn't it?
Yes, yes, and that was my hope, my prayer in writing it. This book was a labor of love
Hmm.
dedicated to my husband and really to anyone with a searching heart. If you remember the famous singer of blessed memory, Leonard Cohen, he had a song called Anthem, and
Oh yeah.
part of the verse of the song is there's a crack in everything, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. So just like you said, we need to be looking at every turn for those cracks and find that little
Right.
bit of light, because all it takes is one little candle, one little bit of light, and then the whole darkness is lit up. And Hashem says in Proverbs and Psalms that he compares our soul to a candle, and he says he will
Yes.
light it.
Right.
So if he lights it, then we have that light. And sometimes it gets so dark we don't feel like we can see anything. We just need to turn that rheostat up
Right. Right. And it
and let
doesn't
more
take a
light in.
lot of light to push back the darkness. That's the incredible
Yes.
thing about it. It just doesn't take that
Mhm.
much light. It is really amazing. You wrote something, or that is put actually in the comment section for the book,
Mhm.
that I want to read. I'm going to actually switch to this so people can see where the book's at
Okay, sure.
on the deal here. Uh,
Mhm.
Let me share my screen. Um, so if you can see that, you can see it, correct?
Yes.
Hidden sparks beneath the surface, an inspirational journey through the biblical festivals and the times and seasons of the Hebrew Bible. You write here, connection to the Creator, connect to the Creator and tap into his divine timeline set from the beginning. Join me in a journey discovery of the hidden sparks beneath the surface, is what we're talking about as we travel through from Shabbat to Shabbat and new moon to new moon, through the times and seasons presented in the Hebrew Bible and the stories and rich Jewish traditions that have accompanied them through the ages. Guys, you got to get the book. It's an amazing book. I really appreciate the fact that Elisheva has allowed NETIV to post that
Mm,
content, or some of that. Not, you've refined it to put it in the book, but you've done such a great job.
no.
It's you have to have it. This is what I would call an amazing daily sort of devotional read, to just sit down and
Mm.
read through a section at a time. Is there anything you're going to have a person out there that's like, oh, it's really interesting, but you know, what thing would you tell somebody that would, if you were trying to help me? I'm Rod, I've never read the
Mm.
book, and you
Mm.
want to tell me something's going to help me go, I'm buying the book today. What would that be?
Oh, oh my goodness. Um, what a question. You promised you weren't going to send me any
Okay,
hard
well,
feelings.
how about we
No,
just
no, no.
say we're just going to break their legs if they don't get
I'm
the
just,
book. No, I won't say that.
I'm just joking. I love questions. I don't have all the answers. Um, well, there is a lot. Let me just think of one.
Well, take your
If,
time, as we're not in a hurry. And look, the reason why I asked that is because I don't want you to, we get out of this conversation and you go, I wish I'd have mentioned
I
this.
know, I know.
I want to give you that opportunity.
Well, I even took some notes for myself, and of course now they're so small I can't read them. But
Okay.
one, I let me just tell people that if you're going to buy the book today, I would suggest you read the preface and the introduction.
Okay.
And I think that will hook you
I think it will
because you're
too.
going to want to go with me on this journey. Then you skip to the last chapter because the last chapter is the 12th month on the Hebrew calendar. It's the month of Adar, and that's the month that we are in. And this month, Adar, this year is like a leap month. It's a leap
Okay.
year. It has two Adars. And in Adar, we double our joy. So we are going to double our joy this time. Adar is a pregnant month. And one thing that I love about Adar, it's my birthday month. And I don't know if you remember the part about the little poof, the little monkey.
Right.
Um, in Jewish tradition, there is a Hebrew letter designated for each month.
Right.
And the Hebrew letter for the month of Adar is Kuf. And I'm telling you this story so that you can live your life just like this little monkey, like I have. If you look at the letter Kuf, those of you who know Hebrew, you can see it's shaped kind of like a candy cane on one side, and on the other side, it has a long line extending below the line. And so if you look at the Kuf, it looks like a rounded monkey's back with a little tail hanging down. So think about a monkey, and what does it do? It travels from branch to branch, going from hand to hand. It has to let go of that hand to get to the next branch,
Right.
like we have to do to go to the next place. We have to let go of our preconceived conditions to go to the next place. And then all of a sudden, something's in its way or whatever. And so it just turns around and swings on its tail. So that's what we have to do when we come to difficult situations. We just turn it on its tail because we know that Hashem has everything all covered
Right.
for us.
Right.
And believe it or not, my nickname that my daddy gave me, my blessed daddy of memory, gave me was a monkey. He used to call me his little monkey. He had no idea that I was born in the month of Adar, which was the month of the little monkey.
That's funny.
And I love it. And I get so much pleasure out of telling that story because it honors my father.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I just think it was a message from Hashem to me, like, Betty, Elisheva, this is how you need to live your life.
Right.
You've got to let go of those preconceived conditions and go on to the next branch, go on to the next thing. Always do the next best thing. You cannot stop. You've
Right.
got to
That's
keep going.
beautiful. Look, Betty said something, Elisheva said something that I really think that needs to be mentioned again. When you get the book, read the preface, right? The preface in the beginning. And then when you go to the last chapter to read this month's uh, um, devotion that's in here or thought process, and then start from there because you'll be following in line with the months
With
that
the,
precede. Yeah. Also, I noticed you have some very interesting people that have written in your book or kind of in your
Oh,
support of your book. And one
mm-hmm.
of them is Dr. James Tabor, which is your beloved brother, an
Yes.
amazing man. He's actually, I thought he was still a professor emeritus or no at the biblical studies
He's
in North Carolina.
retired.
Oh, he's
He's
retired.
retired, and he is more busy than he ever used to be. He
I
burns the
know.
candle at both ends. If there were more ends of a candle, they would all
Right.
be burning.
Yeah. And then you have Michael Dahlin and the
Mhm.
Rainbow Covenant, Terry Peacock, adult Hebrew and Torah teacher at Temple Israel in Memphis.
Right.
Ross Nichols, and another amazing person, lives in
Mhm.
Louisiana. He's written the book called The Moses Scroll. You have Rabbi Dennis Jones. He's retired. He's from Temple Beth Shalom, Hickory, North Carolina. I assume this is probably one of your rabbis at one point. And then Patty Taylor, She's a board member at UIWU. And
Yes.
so we really understand and know that I know that these people have very good reputations and wouldn't write something that they don't mean. And so I'm really excited to be able to help promote
Mhm.
the book. Once again, I want to remind people you can go to Amazon and you just type in Hidden Sparks Beneath the Surface, boom, it pops up, and
Mhm.
you can purchase it there either by Kindle or paperback. Betty, is there anything else that you would like to add before we close out this discussion?
Well, Passover is coming up.
Yes.
Well, before I do that, no, let's do Adar and then go to Passover, because the interesting thing about um, Adar, aside from the little monkey, uh, is the story of Esther,
Right.
and which has to do with the festival of Purim, which is
Correct.
right around the corner. It's coming
This
on
weekend.
Sunday, this
Yeah.
weekend. Um, the name Adar is a derivative of the word strength. And so we have strength and joy in one month. And Nehemiah says the joy of Hashem is our strength.
That's
So it
it.
goes hand in hand. And when you read the book of Esther, you'll find that the name of Hashem is not even mentioned in the whole book.
Hmm.
Yet he is definitely behind the scenes in her life and in the happenings of the book.
Right.
Um, and just like he is in ours.
Correct.
And we call it the whole Megillah. The
Hmm.
Megillah is a rolled scroll. It's rolled up. You don't see it until you start opening it up and reading it little by little.
Correct.
And I just think, and Esther too was hidden.
Hmm.
She took the Hebrew name of Esther. Her name was, the name of Esther, which was not really Hebrew. Her name was Hadassah, meaning myrtle, but she took the Hebrew name of Esther, which means hidden. No
Hmm.
one knew that she was a Jewess, except for Mordecai, her uncle. And yet, so she's going around and they're saying, "What's your name?" And she says, "My name is hidden." In a
Yeah.
way. And I just think that that's another little spark, because it
Right.
it was hidden, yet through her and her strength, she saved her whole group of people, her whole
Don't
people.
don't you think though, Betty, that we're all carrying the hidden promises of Hashem within our life?
Absolutely.
Like we don't know what's going to happen or how it's going to unfold,
No,
but deep within us, there is a hidden purpose that's going to get fulfilled, right?
yes. And there are, as far as hidden sparks, there are hidden sparks everywhere. They're
Hmm.
in each of us, they're in you and me and everyone. They're in the whole world. They're in the flowers that bloom.
Hmm.
They're in everything, gives us a message, but we have to open our eyes and look, or we miss it.
Correct.
And of
Correct.
course they're in Torah.
Right.
Of course they're in Torah. But what I wanted to say then about Passover coming is that we as Jews, we go through something called a Haggadah, and which basically tells the story of Passover, helps
Right.
us to put ourselves in that Passover as though we were actually being redeemed from Israel.
Hmm.
And we have a ceremony called a Seder. Well, the interesting thing about Seder is, if you go to Israel and you ask an Israeli how they're doing, they'll say Beseder,
Beseda. Hmm.
Beseder, which means kind of like, well, I'm okay. Everything's going according to purpose.
Right.
But you think about that, that has a hidden meaning too.
It does.
Everything is going according to purpose.
Right.
And the Seder also has 15 steps, like 15 steps up to the temple. Each little step has a purpose.
Right.
So,
Well, I
um,
tell you the most beautiful thing about our own personal journeys that we're on, everyone is on a journey, is you find out that all of this is interconnected. When you talked about the hidden sparks, and you are absolutely right. I was wondering if you were going to go there. but these hidden sparks, this divine essence, it is in everything. It fills the universe. The
Yes.
universe could not even stand up, if you understand what I mean,
Right.
without that very essence and energy and light that makes up the creator. Like
Right.
the creator's not out there, the creator is here. It is the eternal now. And
Yes.
waking up to that is a big part of growing up by becoming more mature and spiritually elevated as well.
Right. And he, like you said, he's in each of us.
Uh-huh. Yes.
He's lighting, he lights our candle, he lights our soul. Um, and to realize that is a whole spark within itself.
Right.
I mean, how amazing is that? That the God of the whole universe, who made everything, it was chaos, and his spirit, his ruach, moved on the face of the deep.
Right.
And then what did he do? He turned the chaos into light. He
Right.
said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Well, we are supposed to emulate him.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have chaos in our life? Oh, yes, I have
Yes.
lots.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? Stay in that chaos? No. I'm supposed to say, hey, let there be light. I'm going to
Right.
be light no matter what. We're
Right.
supposed to be light. And
Absolutely.
I think that's a spark as well.
Correct.
Mhm.
It is. Well, the idea here is that we want every human being to buy this book, and that's a
Mm.
little audacious for me to ask. Here it is. Look, it's finally showing. Hidden
Yes, it
sparks beneath
is.
the surface. Beautiful
Oh,
book.
and can I
Your
show you?
artist was fantastic. Do what now?
I need to say, I don't know if you can do a close up of that book, but if you will notice that the lights on the menorah,
Hold on. Let's get there real quick. We're gonna do this.
we think that when we light a candle, that it's going to go straight up. Well,
Right.
look at these lights. Look at the wicks. They're all turning towards the
To the
center
middle.
one.
Notice they're all kind of on the further you go out, they're lit just a little tilted or bent toward
Right.
the
They're
center
bent
light.
towards
Can
the
you explain
center.
the significance of that for the person that may not know?
Well, the center it's all made from one shaft. Like we're all made from the creator. That shaft goes straight up. And the center one stands for our creator, for Hashem. We
Mm,
are all a part of his creation. Everything is. And the candles are all, our sparks are all pointing towards him because he is our central light, our
yes.
center of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. That's incredible.
And the artist did that um,
You like
without,
give a shout out to him?
yeah. The artist is Daniel Wright. I think it's Daniel M. Wright. If I say it wrong, let me see. I'm pretty sure it's Daniel M. Anyway, he is a wonderful artist, and he does all kinds of things.
It's really funny because book art, that's just a little catchy thing. Some people have bought book art that the art entices you. This really entices you to
Right,
buy the book. And then some people's art is like, did they even think about it before they put it up, right?
right,
Well,
right.
Betty, this has been a good time. I really appreciate you taking time and being patient with me because of all the crazy things that goes on in life. It's hard sometimes to connect.
I
You're
know,
in
and it's
another
fine.
city,
Mm,
in another state, and if you're from Europe, it'd be like living in another country. You're over in your state, and it's hard to get connected. But
right.
thank God we have electronic abilities to communicate with each other here on Zoom. Is there any last thing that you would like to add before we go?
Actually, Ron, you're going to laugh at this. I always have one more
One
thing.
more thing. I was going to say it, but I
Okay,
didn't want to
so
be a smarty pants.
no, but I do. In every class I'm in, everything I do, there's one more thing. And there is. But right now I have two, and they're very short.
Okay.
And one is regarding Pesach.
Hmm.
When we go through the Seder, one of the parts of the Seder is that we take a piece of matzah
Mm-hmm.
and we put charoset on it.
Mm-hmm.
Charoset is like, well, first we do horseradish,
Mm-hmm.
um, the maror, the bitter. We put the bitter. I like to put the bitter on one end, and I like to put the charoset, the sweet, on the other.
It is really
And then
good
you
that
put a
way. I
top
like it
on
that way as well. Yeah.
it. Okay. Okay. So you start eating and you bite into that charoset, and it is so strong. You have to be careful. You don't want to do too much. Um, it like the fumes go through your nose, and you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't stand this. I gotta stop. I gotta drink water. But you don't drink water. You keep going. You keep going ahead, and you bite into the charoset, and that is the sweetness.
Right.
And that's how we have to live our life. We've got
Absolutely.
to go right through the troubled times. And I love that.
Absolutely. You got to put your head down and just push through it.
You just got to
Yeah.
push through. And the other one more thing is when I started my women's classes, I wrapped this little present. Can you see this little gift?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember you doing that. Yeah.
I wrapped this little gift and I used it as an illustration that this was a gift from Hashem, that this is the gift of our lives
Mm-hmm.
and the gift of his Torah and all of the people in it and the whole creation. And if we just leave the gift here and say, oh, that's so pretty, I'm just going to put it out on my desk. It's not that important. If we don't open it, we don't get the benefits. And
Well,
so
that's
we need
good.
to open it up and get all the benefits.
That's good.
So, I mean, how rude would it be if somebody gave you a gift and you think, I'm just,
Well, I think, look, a lot of people do that. A lot of
yeah,
people recognize there's a God. A lot of people recognize that their life is as a gift, but they don't treat it that way. They just put it on a shelf. And the gift is you have got to pull it out and begin to analyze and see what
right,
benefits there are from opening that up. And that's why we believe that if you order the book, Hidden Sparks Beneath the Surface, that you're going to unlock the potential of each one of these biblical festivals and during this season and time that's going to unlock another portion of you that you can allow the light of Hashem to radiate out of
yes.
and to direct your path. So
We don't
Elisheva,
want to miss these divine appointments.
no, we
No.
do not. We do not. Elisheva, it's been an honor. And
Oh,
today
thank
is
you.
actually the day of Shabbat Eve, and we're getting ready to
Mhm.
start our preparation for Shabbat here in a bit. And so I hope that your Shabbat is elevated, full of life and light.
Thank
And may
you.
you go from strength to strength and great success on the sale of the book. May everyone benefit from its light. And I want to thank you very much for coming on board.
Well, thank you for inviting me. And you too have been my mentor.
Oh, you're so sweet. I paid you for that.
So,
She's easy. I mean, $10, she'll say something nice about you. So just remember. Okay, guys, we'll see you later. Shalom, and thank you for listening to this
Shabbat
NETIV
Shalom. Early
podcast.
Shabbat Shalom.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, it's recording now.